You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is, I don't know. What do you say, Thursday? Sounds good to me. 22nd day of January, 2026. So Thursday means a lot of things, but for our members, it means our members-only workshop tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern. Feel free to send in any questions that you have ahead of time. You can email them, you can telegram them, or you can just show up. Now, the questions that do get sent ahead of time, we assume that's because you won't be able to be there in person. So we try to hit those first so that when you go to the private Telegram channel to later watch the video of the Members Only Workshop, you'll get your questions answered right up front. So there you go. Anyway, we're glad you joined us today, as every day. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we're just glad to have you right here, right now. We do 2 live broadcasts every trading day. The first broadcast is our live training room. So that one's reserved for members only and those taking our 1-week free trial. If you have not yet taken your 1-week free trial, when Michael joins us at the top of the hour, he'll walk you through step by step exactly how to take the trial. It'll take you about 3 minutes of your time. We'll get your indicators up and indicating today. Your trial will officially start tomorrow, but it'll run all the way through next Thursday. You get 5 consecutive trading days, and the weekends don't count against you. And there's no credit card required. We give you unfettered access to everything we do for 5 consecutive trading days without any kind of credit card, because we want you to be able to focus on what's being taught so that at the end of the trial, you can make a well-informed, intelligent decision as to whether or not trading is right for you. So be sure and stick around, top of the hour. Mike will walk you through that at least a couple times, okay? Now, when the live training room ends each day at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, we take a 30-minute break and come back for this broadcast, the noon broadcast, which is open to the public. Everybody everywhere on planet Earth with an internet-connected device. There's 2 different ways to join the afternoon broadcast live. The best way, you only have to do it once. Go to mytradingiq.com. Scroll down the page to where it says Noon Broadcast. Click the link, fill out the 30-second registration form, and you're done. What will happen going forward is every trading day, you'll get an email about an hour before the broadcast starts. In the email, there will be a link. So at 12 noon Eastern, all you got to do is click the link in the email and it automatically logs you into our platform. The benefit there is you'll have access to the question box, so you can ask questions and participate in the discussion. Of course, there'll be days you're out of the office, away from the desktop, but you still want to join live. And some days you'll be busy, so you can't join live, but you do want to get caught up later. You can do both of those via our YouTube channel, which is easy to remember. youtube.com/CFRN. That's the Christian Financial Radio Network since 2005. Not only do we broadcast live every trading day on our YouTube channel, as we're doing right now, simulcasting, we also archive each and every daily broadcast. Currently, there's over 2,900 daily episodes archived for your educational and viewing pleasure. Now, if you're new to the world of CFRN, it's a great way to get to know who we really are. Thanks to the power of YouTube, you can scroll back 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, even more. Now, obviously, you're not going to watch them all, nor do you need to. But it's a great resource to have at your fingertips because it allows you, at your leisure, to see exactly how we've evolved over all these years, day by day by day. youtube.com/CFRN. On the left side of the screen is our schedule for each afternoon broadcast. Michael will join us at the top of the hour for a recap of what happened in the live training room this morning, and then a little live trading as time and the markets permit. We'll get started now, where we do each and every day with our daily devotional. The topic we're currently on is the power of God's blessing. Now, 2 days ago, we talked about greeting as a blessing. Yesterday, we talked about greeting as an assignment. And so today, we're going to revisit greeting as a blessing, part 2. Our scripture today, 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 2, from the ESV translation. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. Prayer is a wonderful way to bless one another. We've already read that God is the only source of blessing. Only He can give us what He wants us to have. The way we bless one another always takes the form of a prayer. The letters in the New Testament often begin and end with a prayer of blessing. A prayer that God's grace and peace will remain present in His church. Divine grace includes His goodness, forgiveness, and faithful presence. Including a blessing in our prayers is not using some kind of magic spell. A blessing is not a power that people possess and can transfer to someone else. When you pray for someone, wishing them God's peace and blessing, you bring that person to Him, and you express your desire that the other person will find rest in God. In this way, you remind each other of the Lord's faithfulness and goodness. Through such prayers, we encourage one another, and we need that mutual encouragement. in order to be steadfast in our faith and to grow spiritually. Question: what is your prayer today for other Christians and your church? Let's pray. Father, we thank you for the grace and peace that comes from you and the Lord Jesus Christ. Let your grace sustain us and your peace calm our hearts today. Help us walk in the assurance of your presence and rest in your love. In Jesus' name we believe and pray. And everybody said, Amen. Amen, and happy Thursday. Let me give you the numbers from around the world. Start here in the U.S. with the cash markets, or the indices as they're called. Currently the Dow up 478 points, almost 1%. The NASDAQ up 242 points, a little over 1%. S&P 500 up 52. The Russell 2000 up 30 points, almost 1.25%. In the commodity basket, crude oil down $1.22, trading $59.40 last. That's a drop of just over 2%. Gold up $46.30, trading $48.83.80 last. That's a gain of almost 1%. Silver up $3.51, trading $96.15 last. That's a gain of almost 4%. In the Asian markets at the close, Nikkei posted a gain of 914 points, 1.75%. Shanghai rose 5. Hang Seng gained 44. And in the European markets at the close, FTSE up 11, the DAX up 315, the CAC up 79. Now for the DAX, 315 points, that's a little over 1.25%. And for the CAC, 79 points is just shy of 1%. Now on Tuesday, it was all red across the board. US, Asia, UK. Today, it's a color of a different story. It was a green day for Asia, a green day for the UK. So far, it's a big green Radio Thursday here in the US of A. Let's take a look at the news, and then we'll get to the charts. The House Oversight Committee voted to advance resolutions holding former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton in contempt of Congress yesterday. The move pushes the measures to the full House for a vote as soon as Monday, February 2nd. The Clintons have for months rebuffed a subpoena to answer questions related to their interactions with the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Their lawyer argues the subpoena is illegal and does not serve a legislative purpose. The Clintons have instead offered to submit written statements and this week proposed the committee's chair, Representative James Comer, interview Bill Clinton and his staff in New York. The House votes to hold the Clintons in contempt. It could pave the way for a Justice Department indictment. Bill Clinton has been documented taking 4 international trips on Epstein's Boeing 727 jet in 2002 and 2003. Stops on those trips included Bangkok, Brunei, Rwanda, Russia, and China. Well, well. What do they used to call him? Slick Willie? I wonder if it's going to finally stick. I don't know. I'm not sure what kind of condition he's in health-wise now, both physically and mentally. I saw Hillary recently in some interview on some show. She seemed to be in full control of her faculties and as feisty and fiery as ever. So we'll see. Moving on, the world's oldest cave painting has been discovered in Indonesia. The image, a stenciled outline of a hand, dates back at least 67,800 years, predating Neanderthal cave art discovered in Europe. The art was discovered on Moon Island near Sulawesi and dated by analyzing uranium isotopes. Researchers say the creator, a Homo sapiens, moved their hand while blowing or spitting a mouthful of red pigment on the limestone cave to create a negative claw-like image. The approach indicates symbolic imagination, the same skill needed to understand language, religion, and science. The findings suggest our species reached the Australia-New Guinea landmass 15,000 years earlier than previously thought. The discovery also further undermines a Eurocentric theory of cultural innovation. Researchers once believed creativity exploded in France and Spain, where paintings, engravings, and stone tools were made shortly after Homo sapiens arrived in Europe roughly 40,000 years ago. Man, wouldn't you love to be a fly on that wall? The cave wall. And here's something just interesting. Had to share it with you. Love letters spanning 5 centuries of British history go on display at Britain's National Archives this weekend. One of the most anticipated letters was written to Queen Elizabeth I by her suitor, Robert Dudley, the Earl of Leicester, days before he died. The note was found by the unmarried Queen's bedside when she died nearly 15 years later. The exhibit also strays from the traditional love letter, featuring a 20th century ad seeking same-sex relationships, as well as Jane Austen's 1817 handwritten will, which left nearly everything to her sister. Visitors can also read a never-before-displayed 1944 note revealing a softer side to an infamous British intelligence officer turned Soviet spy. Other documents show love's power to steer history, like King Edward VIII's formal abdication of the throne in 1936 to marry twice divorced American Wallis Simpson. Now, let me repeat that name, Wallis Simpson. But Wallis is spelled Wallis, leading me to believe it was indeed a female. But I could be wrong. The exhibit will run through April 12th in Richmond, about 30 minutes southwest of central London. So let's look at Wall Street. From Bloomberg, the deal that persuaded President Trump to defuse an escalating crisis over Greenland paves the way for NATO to beef up security in the Arctic region and fend off any threat from Russia or China. The framework cited by Trump after his meeting with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte at the World Economic Forum in Davos yesterday entails the stationing of U.S. missiles, mining rights aimed at keeping Chinese interest out, and a bolstered NATO presence, according to a European official briefed on the talks. The pact, locked in soon after Trump's arrival yesterday at the Swiss resort, also hinges on the U.S. leader standing by his promise not to impose tariffs against European nations. The officials said on condition of anonymity as talks remain behind closed doors. For now, it dials down the gravest threat to the transatlantic alliance since the North Atlantic Treaty Organization's founding after World War II. This is a big deal, and I think it's going to turn into a much bigger deal. And before President Trump took office, how many times did you hear anyone even talk about Greenland? Obviously, he saw something that many before him did not see. Stocks, of course, rising today as investors breathed a sigh of relief that President Trump called off his threatened tariffs on European allies over his pursuit of Greenland. Stocks are climbing after Trump hit pause on the 10% tariffs planned for 8 NATO members in February, soothing the concerns that weighed on Wall Street earlier in the week. Remember, on Tuesday, it was red across the board. Today, green across the board. But investors remain on alert as the EU and the US are still at odds over who will ultimately control Greenland. Trump said he has drawn up a framework of a future deal with NATO's leader for the Arctic island, which the US wants to purchase. But Denmark's prime minister stressed Thursday that the sovereignty of its territory is not up for discussion. What's Denmark done with or for Greenland lately? I can't think of anything. From the Associated Press, powered by strong consumer spending, the U.S. economy grew at the fastest pace in 2 years, from July through September. Now, that was from the government report this morning. America's gross domestic product, the nation's output of goods and services, rose at a 4.4% annual pace in the third quarter, according to the Commerce Department, up from 3.8% in the April to June quarter, and from the 4.3% growth the department initially estimated. The economy hasn't grown faster since third quarter of 2023. Intel, now this is big. Intel is set to report earnings after the bell today, and its financial results could either solidify or rattle the chip stock's 47% gain over the past month amid growing Wall Street optimism over the company's long-awaited turnaround. Now, Intel's up less than 0.25%. So, is that people being cautious or are people being concerned? Rising demand for Intel's traditional computing chips called CPUs, central processing units, from data centers amid the rise of agentic AI and the launch of Intel's Panther Lake chips for AI PCs prompted multiple investing firms, including HSBC and KeyBank, to raise their ratings on Intel stock in the past few weeks. The moves and recent support from President Trump boosted shares, with the stock rising nearly 12% to hit its highest level in 4 years yesterday. I mentioned that yesterday, that all the markets were red, but Intel was massively in the green. Now, when it comes to futures and the indices, we typically don't see gaps except on Sunday night, because futures trade around the clock. Stocks gap every day, because when the US markets close, then the Asian markets open, and the European markets open. And so by the time Wall Street opens the following day, a lot of activity has happened overnight, and that's reflected in the opening price. But again, with futures, which trade 23 hours a day, usually we only see gaps Sunday night. The ES finally closed its gap. I'll show it to you in a minute from Sunday night. Now, this afternoon, I think, because Intel is such a big deal, there may be the potential for a gap. I always caution you during earnings season. We usually don't worry about gaps with futures or the indices, except Sunday night. But earnings season, even more so of late, we've seen some pretty sizable gaps. And if Intel were to miss today or have a huge beat on their earnings, we could see a gap. So I'm going to weigh things at 4 o'clock when the actual earnings come out. If they're in line with expectations, I'll probably go ahead and put out the CTAs at 5:55 p.m. Eastern. If there's a huge hit or miss on Intel, I will probably hold off for a half hour or so to maybe like 6:30. But most days, the CTAs do come out 5 minutes ahead of the open. President Trump has vowed big retaliation if European countries sell U.S. assets in response to his tariff threats related to Greenland, adding pressure on them to stick with an emerging deal over the future of the island. If they do, they do. But you know, if that would happen, there would be a big retaliation on our part, Trump said in a Fox Business interview at the forum in Davos. And Trump says we have all the cards. And from TechCrunch, TikTok, owned by the Chinese company ByteDance, has been at the center of controversy in the U.S. for years now due to concerns about user data potentially being accessed by the Chinese government. Well, the fact that it's played out for a couple of years, I'm going to guess whatever they want or wanted. They already have. Just a guess. As a result, U.S. users have often found themselves caught in the middle of this tension. Last year, the app experienced a temporary outage in the U.S. that left millions of users in suspense before it was quickly restored. TikTok returned to the App Store and the Google Play Store back in February. A number of investors competed to purchase the app, and after Trump extended the TikTok deadline for the fourth time, the battle is finally over. As of December, TikTok officially signed a deal to divest a portion of its U.S. entity to a group of American investors, and now the deal is set to close this week, today, as a matter of fact. This comes nearly 3 months after President Trump signed an executive order that approves the sale of TikTok's U.S. operations to an American investor group. I can't believe that some judge in some small town somewhere hasn't struck it down. Well, prices are down as President Zelensky said that the U.S., Russia, and Ukraine will meet in coming days for trilateral team meetings. We'll see how that goes. And we'll look at the crude chart. We have rolled forward to the H contract. Clothing and fitness company Under Armour said it is investigating claims of a data breach after a cyber criminal posted millions of customer records to a hacker forum. The seller told TechCrunch that the data was taken in a November data breach, which the Everest ransomware gang claimed responsibility for in a post on its dark web leak site. News of the data theft became more widely known this week after breach notification site Have I Been Pawned obtained a copy of the stolen data and notified 72 million individuals by email that their information had been compromised. The seller provided TechCrunch with a sample of the stolen data, which appears to contain millions of records of Under Armour customer purchases and match the types of data that Have I Been Pawned had reported. The stolen data contains reams of email addresses belonging to Under Armour employees. For customers, the leaked data included names, email, addresses, genders, dates of birth, customers' approximate location, or zip code. Now, I don't even know what to say about that, other than it happened. Now, we talked about this briefly yesterday. Attorney General Pam Bondi announced today that law enforcement had arrested Nakima Levy Armstrong, a leader of the agitators who invaded a church service in St. Paul, Minnesota on Sunday. I'm sure you've seen the clips. Minutes ago, at my direction, agents executed an arrest in Minnesota, Bondi posted on X. So far, we've arrested Nakima Levy Armstrong, who allegedly played a key role in organizing and coordinating the attack on City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota. We'll share more updates as they become available. Why wasn't Don Lemon arrested? I mean, you all saw it. She says there's more to come, but you think she'd start at the top. If you can share that at the top. I don't know that I will. And last, we spoke briefly about the Board of Peace. More than 24 countries have signed on to President Donald Trump's Board of Peace plan, which was unveiled during the World Economic Forum in Davos yesterday. According to the White House, the board will play an essential role in fulfilling all 20 points of the U.S.-backed ceasefire plan between Israel and Gaza. Here's a look at which countries have and have not agreed to join. So first, who's in? Bahrain, Morocco, Argentina, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belgium, Bulgaria, Egypt, Hungary, Indonesia, Jordan, Kazakhstan, Kosovo, Mongolia, Pakistan, Paraguay, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, United Arab Emirates, and Uzbekistan. Who's out? Denmark, France, Norway, Slovenia, and Sweden. Now, there's a list of who was invited to join, but haven't made up their mind as of yet. Australia, Austria, Brazil, Canada, China, Croatia, Cyprus, Finland, Germany, Greece, India, Ireland, Italy, Japan, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Oman, Poland, Portugal, the Republic of Korea, Romania, the Russian Federation. Well, I guess they were invited. Singapore, Spain, Switzerland, Thailand, Ukraine, and the United Kingdom. So this will basically replace NATO. And if the U.S. pulls out of NATO to just back this Board of Peace, then I suspect NATO will pretty much cease to exist. We'll see. These are times like we've never ever seen before. I mean, the geopolitical tension and all the things happening in the world, I mean, it's all so unprecedented. And we've all heard a million times, it's different this time. But you know what? This time, it's really different. Logic 247 is our 24/7 around-the-clock E-mini alert service. It's not just E-minis, but also crude, gold, and silver. We're currently in week 390. Over the last 390 weeks, we've issued over 21,400 individual handcrafted alerts. And what we've averaged on a weekly basis is 20% or less of the alerts being stopped out based on simple market structure and a simple process we teach all of our passport holders. Now, yesterday we were sitting at 27% stopped out. So things are looking a little better today. Now, Valerie did the recap at 6:30 a.m. this morning, at 6:30 a.m. Eastern, long before the markets or any news came out. So some things have changed, and of course she'll update it this afternoon as she does each and every day. Since the markets opened Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, typically it's Sunday night, but we know Monday was a holiday, we've issued 36 alerts so far this week. At the time of the recap, we were still waiting on the outcome of 7. That gave us 29 actionable alerts, of which 5 or 17% would have been stopped out, again based on simple market structure and a simple process we teach all of our passport holders. Now, the logic alerts are designed to help you learn how to read a chart. If you never trade a logic alert, that's fine. Use them for the purpose intended, though, to learn to read the chart. You need to know where to anticipate potential resistance and why. where to anticipate potential support and why. In doing so, you reveal the windows of opportunity between those 2 points where you're able to find high probability, low risk trade setups. Every logic alert has an entry price, long or short, an initial target designed to help you get your goal for the day, and in most cases additional targets, and then always a final trade to target. The logic alerts can come out anytime around the clock. Futures trade around the clock. We have traders around the globe. Our day session is their night session, and vice versa. Now, 390 weeks, that's well over 7 years. But quite a few years before we had Logic 247, we had our original alert service, the concierge trade alerts, and they're different. In fact, they're different in more ways than I can cover in this session, but I will say this, they don't come out around the clock. They're typically posted as a static report 5 minutes ahead of the Globex open. We know we're in the Thursday session right now, but the Thursday session began last night at 6 p.m. Eastern. So 5 minutes before the Thursday session began, all of our traders and trial members had all of these targets: the S&P, the Dow, the Russell, crude oil, the NQ, gold, and silver. And because we're in earnings seasons and Intel's reporting this afternoon after the bell, once I make a decision if I'm going to put the CTAs out at 5:55, I'll post that in the Telegram discussion group. And if I decide I'm going to wait until a little later, maybe 6:20, 6:30, then I will post that in the discussion group. So just check about 15 minutes before the open, and you'll know whether or not to expect the CTAs. And they'll come, it's just a matter of at what time. Because I think there is a potential for a gap. Now, if the earnings come in line with expectations, it may not be that big a deal. However, if there's a huge hit or miss, well, then it could become a really big deal. Remember, we've had one all red day, and we had yesterday, and today an all green day. So just when it looked like we were headed back down to that double bottom on the daily, then came today and yesterday. In fact, let's just go look at the chart. So again, when you see these individual targets drawn out on the chart, remember, all of our members had the targets 5 minutes before the market opened last night. So we'll go to the daily chart of the S&P 500, Emini futures, the bellwether. That's where we start every day. So take a look at this. This was that huge sell-off Tuesday. Here's the Sunday night gap. As you can see, we've closed the gap and then some. So this was the huge sell-off Tuesday that had the world pretty concerned. In fact, if you go back or if you were tuned in live, you saw it in real time. But the wick sticking up here and the wick sticking down on this candle, I told you and I showed you, I put the crosshair right between those two. And I said, that's an area where the market is likely to find support. And it did. It's not magic. It's just knowing how to read the chart and what to look for. So now we've rallied all the way back above the BBC. We've overcome red and falling. I mean, the market is on fire. There's the 50% fib extension, which is potential resistance. And then right here, where you see where blue turned to red, we'll call it 69.89/90. Okay, that's potential resistance. Then you got potential resistance here, here, at the 62, and then right there, that is the all-time historic intraday high. That right there is the all-time historic closing high. Okay, so we're not that far away, and if this rally continues, now we only got one trading day left this week. We got the remainder today. We got tomorrow. Sunday night should be interesting. And again, ahead of time, days ahead of time, a week ahead of time, weeks ahead of time, we knew where to expect potential support. Wick sticking up, wick sticking down, put your crosshair in the middle, there's your support. We spiked it a little bit, but you can't argue, that is support. And if you missed the broadcast live, you can go back. We've talked about it practically every day since the first day I pointed it out, which would have probably been somewhere in this move right here, probably as we started to come back down, because we were then beginning to look for places to find potential support. And initially we found support at the 24% fib extension. And then we had resistance at the 62. And then we punched up and put in a new all-time historic high, but then we closed back below the 62% fib extension. So the one to be paying attention to right now is 69.73. That's where that 50% fib extension is. And then above that, 69.91. I would say 90 to 95 just to be overly cautious. Price always reverts to the mean. In our case, the mean is green. We call it the BBC, stands for bull bear cross. When price crosses above the green line, we're bullish and expect higher prices. When price crosses below the green line, we're bearish and expect lower prices, higher prices, lower prices, higher prices, lower prices. You get the idea. But the gap is filled. Now, I talked about this yesterday, that with the indices and futures, when we get the Sunday night gap, we typically see it fill within a couple of hours, but almost always within the same session. But as you can see, it took a little bit longer. This was the Sunday night gap. Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm guessing the markets are baking into the cake right now that Intel is going to meet or beat earnings. But just because they meet or beat earnings doesn't mean the market is going to react positively. Once upon a time, good news always sent the market higher and bad news always sent the market lower. That is not the case anymore. We now have this. See, people used to wait for the Wall Street Journal to show up on their doorstep to make trading decisions, to call the floor, to place their orders through their broker. we now have this 24-hour news cycle. We have this 24-hour, 7-day-a-week access to live data. And especially in the situation we're at right now, it's almost as if the market is hoping for bad news because they want the Fed to lower interest rates. But Trump continues to succeed, and so the Fed continues to fight lowering the rates. Just imagine if rates had been lowered 2 points the way Trump asked when he took office, where would we be right now? Probably up here somewhere. Okay, all of the alerts, both Logic 247 and the Concierge Trade Alerts, are all created on the 30-minute chart. Nothing magic about 30 minutes, it's just the time frame I chose years ago. And they say if it's not broke, leave it alone. So I did. Yesterday we found support down here at the zone at this point. And then we overshot it a little bit here, resistance. And then going into the close, we were right here. Now as you can see, the black step line crossed blue and climbing right here. When that happens, we expect a retracement back to the BBC. Now, as I said, price always reverts to the mean. In our case, the mean is green. It's this green line right here. And the pullback held. The pullback holds more often than it doesn't. So when the market finds support, it's going to go look for resistance. Now, this was the London Open, where we ran through the zone. Only one of three things happens when price encounters a zone. 70% of the time is consolidation, 20% of the time rejection, 10% of the time the slice. So on a slice, price will typically retrace back to the zone it sliced through, continue in the direction of the slice. It didn't happen here. Okay, this zone is 69.38/39, and the pullback missed it by a point. See, the zone is 38.39, and then right here, this candle opened red, and the low is 69.40. So it did what we expected to do, but it did miss it by a point. So then we get a leg, a retracement. We hit the zone, resistance. That sends us back to support at the zone, the BBC, the top side of the long target. And here we are, reaching higher. Now we still have 1, 2, 3 zones left overhead. Remember, yesterday we were below the lowest weekly trading zone. And I did say, as I always do and have for 16 years, by close of business on Friday, we expect, if price gets below the lowest zone on any market, by close of business on Friday, we expect price to be at or above the lowest weekly zone. Same is true with the highest zone. If we get above the highest zone, by close of business on Friday, we expect price to be back down to the highest zone or below. Now, has that happened every single week for the last 16 plus years? No. There have been a handful, a couple of handfuls. We'll go 3 handfuls of weeks. Because if you take 16 and multiply it, 16 times 52, what do you got? 16 times 52, it's 832 weeks. So, I don't know, out of 832 weeks, maybe there's been 32 weeks where we had one of the markets close above or below the highest or lowest weekly zone. We don't change anything. We know we don't have the power to control the market. only to understand to the best of our ability what the market is doing and why, and what we should anticipate it to do next. And what we've effectively proven over the last now over 7 years and over 21,400 alerts, logic alerts, is that 20% of the time or less, the market is going to do something other than what we expect. Now, we don't go trying to track down why. We just simply accept the fact that there is too many factors involved. Okay? Anything you find where your unprofitable trades are 20% or less on a 7-year basis, you've probably found something you want to hang on to. Okay? And when you start trying to put an edge on top of an edge on top of an edge, pretty soon you end up with no edge at all. So be careful with that. So we did have a slightly higher gap open last night. Okay. Step line crossed, came back to the BBC. We had a leg and a retracement right to the top. You see how it came back right to the very top of the long target? We see that almost on a daily basis when we trade through a long target or a short target on the retracement. In this case, the top side of the long target becomes support, and it did. Sent us all the way up to the zone overhead. Resistance sent us back to support. Now we're in price discovery mode. Looks like price is always trying to get to a weekly trading zone. If it's above the BBC, it's trying to get to the zone overhead. If it's below the BBC, it's trying to get to the zone below. So for now, we're at 66.75, so we're about roughly 10 points from the next zone, from 67 to 77. On the Dow, here's where we opened last night. Support at the zone, then a leg and a retracement and a leg. We overshot the zone, then we came right back to the zone below and found support. So we opened last night, blue and climbing, got directly above price. When that happens, it's usually becomes resistance because it's on its way to becoming red and falling. Blue and climbing is bullish, red and falling is bearish. Price came back to the BBC, pulled back held, and then we made a beeline. In fact, we hit the zone on the London Open, and then on the 4 a.m. candle, we hit the long target, where we consolidated for a few hours, dropped back to the zone, almost touched the BBC, and then here comes the wild one. That's the Wall Street Open. We ran all the way up. This was a massive, huge green candle. But before the 30-minute candle closed, we were lower than where we opened. Now we've made another run back up to that same zone. We've taken out that high. Next zone overhead is at 49,945. Okay. You go to the left, you'll see areas where you could expect potential resistance. The Russell. The Russell opened yesterday. We had support at a zone, resistance, then support, then resistance, then support, then resistance. That's just how price travels from zone to zone to zone. Once the zones are published Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern, they're carved in stone for the entire week. They don't change in any way whatsoever. So we opened at the zone, consolidated sideways, blue and climbing, got overhead, became red and falling, and price came right back to the VBC where the pullback held. Then we got the move. There's the London Open that took us up to the long target. We overshot it a little bit, came back, and you see how on the top side of the long target we found support right there. And then we got a leg, a retracement. Now we got like a triple top going on right here. The step line has crossed, which is a call for price to return back to the BBC. Price always reverts to the mean. And these wicks sticking up like that are bearish. So I'm going to guess before we get to the highest weekly zone on the Russell, we're probably going to see a retracement back to the BBC. Now that doesn't have to happen, but it's pretty obvious that this area right here so far has been a place that institutional traders who actually move price haven't been comfortable trading. Every time we hit that area, we come off. Maybe this time it'll be different. I would let price get up to about 27.52, and then you got 4 points up to the highest weekly zone. But it definitely wouldn't go long yet, because the step line crossing, that's calling for a retracement. Okay. On the NQ, gap higher open last night, hit the zone, consolidated, blue and climbing, got overhead, pushed us. Now, if it seems like I'm showing you the same chart over and over, I'm not. It's just that the indices quite often mirror each other. Okay. Michael is with us. I didn't realize how late it had gotten. So let me get him in here. Sorry, Michael, I didn't see that sooner. Just give me 1 second. Okay, I'm going to guess that's you. Okay, you should be good.
There it is. I'm in.
Yeah, sorry, okay. Sorry I didn't see you there earlier.
I came in as Jake again. I don't know how that works. Anyway, that's okay. It took me. I don't know why it's doing. I'm just going to reboot. Usually that fixes it.
Yeah, well, it did for me. Well, actually, I rebooted and it didn't work. But then after I got logged in yesterday, then it worked today. So who knows? Anyway, guys, we're going to leave off with the NQ. Michael's going to give us a recap of what happened in the live training room this morning, do a little live trading as time and the markets permit. Then I'll come back, finish the recap, and wrap things up with our good word for the day.
Okay, and we'll bring it over here in just 1 second. I got to do one more quick thing. And then there. Okay. So I know it says Jake, but it's really me.
Okay, looks good.
Here we are. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Thursday, the 22nd day of January 2026. Now, if you have not taken a free trial with us and you want to, go here to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button. There's no credit card required for the trial. Just click on that purple button and it will bring you to this page right here. On this page, just fill out all the stuff you need to fill out. And down here at the bottom, make sure you give us your TradingView login ID. Okay, once we get that login ID, we will be able to enable the indicators and get them indicating on your charts for you. All right. And once you do all that, it really, if you're going to bother taking the trial, you should really get in the room in the morning and get the indicators indicating on your desktop. I know we've had a couple of people on the trial this week, and they showed up in the room to begin with, but then they sort of disappeared, and nobody's asked any questions. So get in there and ask questions. We encourage the questions. Okay, so we had a pretty good day today. Our best day this week out of the 2 days so far. It was, well, I'll get into it. If you're going to read the spreadsheet, you got to read the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today's the 22nd day of January 2026. We were -2 on the NQ. It's been a while since we had a minus on the NQ, I guess the beginning of November. We're up 107 on the YM, 135 on gold. That was a big day on gold today. -29 on the ES. Now look, the ES is by far our lowest this month. 175. We're up $5,230 per contract on the gold, 1,855 on the YM, and 7,000 on the NQ. The ES is a measly little 175 this month. Just doesn't seem right. Some days were big days, but a lot of days not that good. Anyway, this morning I took 8 minutes and 4 trades to get to $1,200 with 10 contracts on, or 120 with 1 contract, and we took a total of 50 trades. So on the month now we're at $14,270 over 12 days, averaging $1,189 per contract per morning session. The 24/20 blue, well, on the year it's the same as the monthly, and the 24/20 blueprint that dropped a little bit today because it took us a little while. It took us 8 minutes to get the goal and 4 trades. So 1.11 hours so far we've worked this year getting the goal for the day. And if you quit trading when you got the goal for the day and did everything exactly like I did, then you'd be up $1,662 right now, because it's 1 contract starting the year, averaging $1,488 per hour. Okay. Not that one. This one. Here we are. All right. So just gonna shrink this down a little bit and shrink them all down a little bit. Okay. So let's get into the actual trades. Gold was our big winner today. Let's start out with the NQ. That was our big loser. Actually, the ES was a big loser, but the NQ we didn't have much on today. So we'll start out with that. Go back to the beginning of the NQ. And get as much of this done as we can, as quickly as we can, so we can get in there and trade a little bit more. Make a little bit more money, hopefully. Another 10 or 15 minutes we end up having. Getting the goal for the day, and that's what it's all about. All right, so on the NQ, our first trade on the NQ was just a +4. The next one was a +12, got us to 16. Then we had a +5 to get us to 21. And then, wow, that's a lot of bars with no trades. Then we had a +24 to get us to 45. And things were going so well in here. Then we had a +4 to get us to 49. Then another +4 to get us to 53. Then I made a mistake right there. Now, why did I have that as a mistake? I can't really tell. I have too many of these things going in here. I don't know, but I stopped out on it. I think that it's probably not a blue one. It should probably be a red one. Did I? No, this is okay. I don't know what I did on that. That ended up being profit, but I didn't write down any profit for that. I did have the mistake here though, where we stopped out and it brought us down to 20 something, 28. I think, yeah, 28 ticks. And then our next one got us up to 32. Then we stopped out again, brought us down to 7. We got 4 to 11. Then 4 more to 15. Then 8 to 23. And then we went from 23, we had a little bit of a gain there, and then we stopped out. I didn't write in that little bit of a gain, that other one. But we stopped out here, and that put us at -2. And that was where we ended it with the NQ this morning. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to the end now on the NQ. And there are, hang on, I'm trying to get my DOMs visible here. That was running around a little bit of crazy, trying to get in here this time. All right, so there's nothing here right now on the NQ. No trades right now on the NQ. All right, so the next one we'll look at the ES. We were negative on the ES too. It's kind of odd. These two markets today going right to left instead of left to right. You see, there was not much to do here on the ES today. Now, the first trade we took was right here. We stopped out on that. I have that as an orange Don't know why I have it as an orange. Came out of the overbought, crossing down right there. Marked it as orange. Nonetheless, we stopped out on that. Oh, I think it was orange because I, on the ES, I remember now. I had some slippage, I think. So it wasn't really a big negative, but that wasn't our first trade. Our first trade, we got plus 1 tick. Then we stopped out, we were at -9. And then we stopped out again. We had a break even, then we stopped out again, put us at -19. Then we gained 1 tick. No, I'm sorry, we lost 1 tick here. That put us at -20. And then something's missing in here. There's a few trades missing in here because we ended up at -29. So we started out with 1 tick, then we stopped out, went to -9. Then we stopped out again, went to -19. Then we had that screw up where I ended with -1 tick with some slippage. Put us at -20. Then I stopped out again to -30. And then I made 1 tick to get us to -29. So this last one was 1 tick to get us to -29. But it wasn't easy trading today on the ES by any means. It was not an easy day on the ES. Now, the YM, we had a pretty good day on the YM. We had a bunch of trades on the YM and the NQ. So let me go back to the beginning on that. Okay, getting back there. Almost back there. Okay. So here we are. On the YM, our first trade on the YM here, we picked up 8 ticks on that. Then the very next one was right here. I have that highlighted in blue. I mean, I have it in the off blue because it didn't actually hit the mid-band. So we picked up 5 to get us to 13. Then the next one, we picked up 3 to get us to 16. Then 15 to get us to 31. Then that one didn't have a flat spot right before it. We went from 31 to 43, so we had 12 there. Then 10 there. And that one didn't. This is where it should have taken the trade on this right here, where it came out of the oversold on this green one. And I ended up taking it over here. But we got 10 more ticks here to get us to 53, then 1 there to get us to 54. Then went from 54 to 69, 69 to 79, 79 to 81, 81 to 83, 83 to 84, 84 to 86. 86 to 92. 92 to, I don't have them all in here, 92 to 102 and 102 to 107. And that is where we ended it all on the YM with 107 ticks. Let's go to the end right now and see if we don't have any trades there right now. I don't have the question box open. I should bring that up in case anybody asked any questions. You're usually a quiet bunch in here and nobody asks any questions. There. All right, and that was the YM. Now the gold. The gold is what made the majority of the money today. And we had the majority of the trades also, I think. Actually, we had more trades on the YM than we did on gold. But we made a lot more money on gold. This is $10 a tick. All right, we'll go back to the beginning here. Here we are. All right, so our first trade on gold was right here. Now I have that highlighted in blue because the entry, I took the entry up here, I think, and it wasn't off the mid-band. But our first trade on gold, actually, yeah, we picked up, I mean, I know I have it in blue because I had the order waiting on this bar right here, and it hadn't filled me there, and it went up here, and then it came back down, and it filled me right here, and it gave me 30 ticks on that first trade. That's why that happened. Okay, and I had 1 tick on the second trade to get us to 31. And then 10 to get us to 41, 20 to get us to 61, 5 to get us to 66, 5 more to get us to 71. And from 71 to 103. Then we went from 103 to 107, and 107 to 108 somewhere. Okay, we went from 107 to 108, 108 to 119, 119 to 122, 122 to 123, and then finally 123 to 135, and that is where we ended it on the session. 135 ticks on the gold. And let's see, during the break, there was some pretty quick movement right here, some gaps and whatnot. Pretty quick movement right back down too. Wow, look at all that volatility. I don't know what was going on there to create all that volatility there during the break, but it's pretty good stuff. I don't know if you guys were able to get in there and get any of that. If you look at the trade setups, when the volatility was happening, there was a trade there that was okay. Yeah, let's go back over here and see if there was anything in here on the long side or on the short side. This would have been a trade right there. This would have been a trade right there. This would have been a trade right there. Just trying to see which ones would have captured the volatility and just like went bam and give you a 30 ticks profit right to the target. That happened to me once today. But I know it wasn't just me, it happened to Mark too, and he had a different time that it happened to him. Anyway, here we are. The YM's got a short right here. Right here. That is a valid short from the YM. The NQ also had a short right there. I think that was a valid short from the NQ. And this suggests that the NQ is going to be going up on this bar. And this suggests, well, it's already done what it should have done. All right, so here we are. If you have not taken a free trial with us, go to here, mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button. There is no credit card required for it. Click on the purple button, fill out the registration page. Okay, so right now, what time is it? 1:17, so we have 13 minutes. Let's just see how many minutes do we have. Yeah, 13 minutes. We'll go with that. So this right here will be a 13. Let's just copy this and insert one row below. Paste it, and we'll start out with 13 minutes today. Okay, this is a 32, and this is a 1/20. Let's get in there and see if we have any trades. With that, we can get started. The YM needs a down close right here. There it is on the YM. That's a valid trade. Here it is on the YM. The NQ needs a down close right here. There's the NQ as well. All right. So the YM needs to push to 5 ticks in profit, and then we'll have our stop will bump to break even plus a tick. It's got to get down to right here. The yellow needs to get to right there. Okay, there it is. 1 tick on the YM, and the NQ is still struggling over here, but it's on. Go to 2 ticks on the YM. 6 on the YM. And we're out with 6 on the YM. And the NQ is struggling. We have a 25 tick stop that we just hit on the NQ. All right, so 1 there, 1 there, and those are the trades so far. Let's put them in. The NQ is minus 25, and the YM is 6. So far, 2 trades, 1 stop. Okay. That's where we stand right now. And let's get back in there, in here. Trade some more. We have another one setting up right now on gold. This one stopped us out here on the NQ to the ticks so far. The gold is now too far away. It's not going to be a trade. Okay, if we get the gold. The YM didn't give us anything else. The NQ didn't give us anything else. And the ES doesn't have anything for us right now either. This suggests, well, it's already done it. This suggests, it's not done that. This suggests that it's going to go up. All right, so Now we wait. The YM should move down from right here. The NQ is not quite there yet. The ES should move down too. It's got to hit the mid band, give a down close to give us a trade setup. The NQ should move down, and it's just got to have a down close on the NQ. Okay, the ES has to hit the mid band and give a down close. The YM didn't end up being anything because it went too far. Now the NQ goes up and not down. So that's not a trade because the mid-band's not flat anymore. So cancel over there. Cancel there. And the ES is the only thing right now that's pretty close. ES and the gold. There's the gold. Now the gold just needs an up close here. Okay, just an up close here on the gold to be a long trade. And there it goes. And it gapped up. Stop is going to plus 10 on that. Plus 16 on that. And we're out with 16 on the gold. Right now the ES is almost a trade right here. Okay, gold 16. That becomes 83. Okay, get back in there. The gold does not have another one yet. The YM does not have another one. The ES, I guess the ES is the closest thing to a trade. The mid-band was not flat on the bar before that, so that's not a trade. The gold could possibly turn into something, but I think it's going to get too far away from the mid-band. Okay, so on the NQ, we need that to get up right there. That's actually to get ready for a short. We need to go up. It's probably in a position right now. It's in a position, it looks like a long trade because it's got a retracement of this leg up. But we're in the red background, so it's got to go up into the overbought and then get out of the overbought. So it's probably not going to turn into a trade because I think it's going to flip the YBR. Okay, it is flipping the YBR. Now the ES is just about ready to give us a short right here. So the NQ is flipping the YBR right now. And I actually took the long trade. I won't count this, but I took that long trade a few minutes ago on it. The one that I said be triggered from right here. Oops. The ES needs a down close right here. Right? There's nothing here on the YM. The NQ did flip it. And the ES down close is coming right here. The gold needs a down close followed by an up close. And the NQ needs a down close followed by an up close. Does anybody have any questions in here? Randy, ready for 2 o'clock? Okay, so gold's there now, just needs the up close. There it is. The up close is actually moved away from it right there, so that's not an actual valid trade. The NQ didn't come out of the oversold, so that's not a valid trade there either. The ES is still the only one that's going to be valid on the down close right now. Which program, Bob? Gary, okay. The stuff for Ninja. I'll show you the stuff for Ninja that we have available for Ninja Trader. I do have Ninja installed on this computer. Let me just open up Ninja and I'll try to show you Ninja what we have available. That'd probably be the easiest way to do it. There's the down close on the ES. That's the trade on the ES. Here it is. Okay, stop just went to break even. I'll lock in 1 tick on that. That 1 tick is $250 with 10 contracts. Okay, let me put that in. Yes, one tick. Okay, back in here. Hang on, let me go find my NinjaTrader stuff on this computer. All and Ninja. Now, here I don't have a valid one, so I'm just going to connect to a simulated data feed here on Ninja. And the things that you have available to you on Ninja, well, obviously the volume, but you go to indicators. Hopefully I have it set up on this. Yeah, okay, it says I do. Let's see if I really do. That one on. Apply. There it is. Okay. So let me stretch this out. Let me actually go see what else is on here. Go to indicators and I'll get rid of the other things. These things that are just random. Apply. Say okay. Oops, cancel. Now where did that data go? I'm not sure where it went to. How do I find it? There it is. Okay, that's like shift down and control down. There it is, control down. Okay, so this is a daily chart, but if you were to go to a range bar on this, we'll go to a 7 range, we'll say. Gosh, I do it again. Okay, let's go back to the daily chart. Daily chart has data on it. We'll go to a minute chart or something like that. Let's just go to a daily chart. It has data. So just to answer your question, Bob. Control. There it is, control. Control and bring it back up. Let it go. Oh, this is what I'm just used to the other one now. Okay, so let's go back here to the 2-day, maybe. No, 1 day. I don't know what happened to the data. There it is. Okay, so the stuff that is available, you have the YBR, you have the BBC, the MA1. Down in the bottom, you have the sidebar, the oscillators down here. If you hit add, then that is going to be the slingshot down there for you. Okay, I'd clean that up, but you have the slingshot down here. So what you're looking for in this, you don't have the mid-band stuff that I'm using in here. You don't have a trigger, but what you do have, and a lot of people are still using this, is you have the divergence down here. You have between this line here and the red one down there, that would be the divergence that you're looking for. Okay, and so you look for a pullback here to the BBC. While this MA1 is above the BBC, look for a pullback down to the BBC. And if you have divergence down here, you get in here at the BBC. That's it. Okay, so those are the tools that you have in here. Now, somebody did ask me the other day, but they were asking about the button panel. Now, the button panel I don't have on this computer, but the button panel is a strategy. And I don't have it on this computer because this computer has some things in here that I apparently have errors in. I guess I can go and see if I know where they are. Go to tools and import, export. I don't know where it is. New script editor. Where'd that come up? Okay, usually that's going to show the things that I have errors in. Anyway, that's what we have available, Bob. Okay, those things we have available. The old school stuff is what we have on NinjaTrader. Yeah, so it's got the YBR, and down here in the bottom, it would be, let me show you what the equivalent is. Okay, I'm just about out of time here. Well, we're positive anyway on this session, but let me just show you what the equivalent is. I do have another meeting coming up here at 10 o'clock, but let me just, of what the NinjaTrader equivalent is. Okay, it is this. Invite only, price panel, and slingshot. Okay, This is what we have on Ninja. This right here. So basically what you'd be looking for is when price gets below, this is the BBC, but we have the whole ribbon on Ninja as well. The leading edge is the BBC. So when price gets below it, you look for price to pull back to it when you have separation down here. Price pulls back to it and hits it. When you have separation, you take the down close. Okay. And you can do that with the MA1 being below it, or you can do it with just with the ribbon being spread the way that it is right here. So it goes back up above it like this. If you have divergence, when it comes back and hits the BBC, you go long. Now, I know this is a daily chart, but you do the same thing on any kind of chart. Okay. This is what's available. The button thing is available. I don't have it on this computer. I have it on the other computer. And Shane, one of our CFRN partners, he supplied me with something last night. He sent to me that I'll show you what you have to do with it. Okay. Where is it? Shane sent it to me last night. Here it is right here. Okay. This is what it is. You know how on if we go here on this page, if we go here on this page and we go to trade rules, these are my stops that I have and the brackets that I have, and when it goes to break even, Shane created this that has all those rules built in. These are all ETMs for NinjaTrader. Okay, it's an ATM range pack. These are all ATMs for NinjaTrader. So what he was doing is you can take these ATMs and go to Documents, NinjaTrader, Templates, and ATM Strategies, and put them all in here. And then when you go to the button, you'll have the ATM strategy available to you on the button for whatever button panel, whatever button size you want to use. Okay. So all that is available to you guys that have NinjaTrader. That's for the button panel. I know the button panels come up a lot in the past week. And that's what you have available on Ninja right there. Okay. You don't have, well, you don't have the trigger on Ninja. You don't have the mid bands on Ninja. You don't have any of the stuff that I programmed into solely into Pine Script. You know, this has got the mid bands and all that stuff. You do have the context with the YBR, but the context does not have the background color. It's got the YBR, but it doesn't have the background color in it. Okay, that's what you have in NinjaTrader. All right, so I said all that to say this. This is how we're going to end it for today. We only had 4 trades with 1 stop out today, so 75% of our trades are break even or better. Right, $775 total and be $77.50 with 1 contract. We're still averaging more than the goal for the day, and if I would have traded a little bit more, I'm pretty sure I would have gotten the goal for the day in this session too. That's it. We're going to end this session with -25 on the NQ, +6 on the YM, +16 on gold, and +1 on the ES. So we had 4 trades with 1 stop outs today, and 13 minutes trading. It was actually less than 13 minutes. It was more like 8 minutes trading. If you haven't taken a free trial with us and you want to, go here to mytradingiq.com. mytradingiq.com, click on this. There's no credit card required for the trial. Click on that. It's going to bring you to the registration page. Just fill out this form. Okay. And that is it. With that, I can pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona, in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Dwayne, if you are ready.
Yep.
Sorry.
I'm ready.
I ran over a little.
Oh, no problem. No worries. Okie doke. Recap of the morning session.
Today it took 8 minutes and 4 trades to get to $1,200 with 10 contracts.
Good job.
Thank you very much.
Okay, guys, we'll pick up where we left off on the NQ. Okay, so this was the opening candle last night when the markets opened at 6 p.m. Eastern. That became the Thursday session. We ran into the weekly trading zone, which we expect to be resistance until proven otherwise. We did get above the zone, but blew in climbing, got above price, And when that happens, it's usually on its way to becoming red and falling. One is bullish, the other bearish. Took us right back to the BVC and the pullback held. Price always reverts to the mean. In our case, the mean is green, and the pullback holds more often than not. Eventually it'll trade through, but again, it holds more often than it doesn't. And so along comes the London Open right here, and we make a run all the way up to the long target and the zone overhead. And then right here, the step line crosses, just like here the step line crossed from the left side to the right side. Here it is again. So we expect a retracement back to the BVC. In fact, we came all the way back to that zone that was published Tuesday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Typically, it's Monday morning, 6:15 a.m. Eastern for the last 16 plus years, except when Monday's a holiday. And when Monday's a holiday, they come out Tuesday morning. Regardless, once they're published, they're carved in stone for the entire week. They don't change in any way whatsoever. And the CTAs are published 5 minutes ahead of the Globex Open. Now, because Intel reports after the bell today, depending upon if there's a huge hit or miss on the Intel earnings, I might wait till about 6:15, 6:20, maybe even 6:30 to publish the CTAs. But most evenings, just like last night, they were out 5 minutes before the Globex Open. And they look just like this. I already showed them to everybody. If you missed any part of today's broadcast, as soon as I sign off, go to youtube.com/CFRN, and you can watch the entire broadcast in its entirety. So all of these targets that you see, these are the ones that you see drawn on the charts right now. Don't confuse the concierge trade alerts with the logic alerts. Those are two different animals. On the logic alerts, we're now over 7 years, over 21,400 individual handcrafted alerts. And what we've averaged on a weekly basis is 20% or less of the alerts being stopped out, based simply on market structure and a simple process we teach all of our passport holders. And this week, when Valerie did the recap this morning, we're sitting at 17% stopped out. So she'll update that this afternoon, as she does each and every afternoon. So on the NQ, this is the high of the session. Okay, come back to the BBC. We're attempting higher, but right here, see where blue turned to red? That's where we ran into trouble. So we need to overcome that area. I would let price get up to at least 25,755 before I pursue any more long trades. Okay, we still got several zones overhead. All right, crude oil. Here's where we opened last night. Dropped to the BBC. Pull back holes more often than not. So we got a leg that took us right up to this high from yesterday. That's market structure. You should expect resistance there until proven otherwise. Then we get below the BBC, blue and climbing turns to red and falling, and then we consolidate at the zone as we do 70% of the time. 20% of the time's rejection, 10% of the time the slice. Down we come. Now we traded through the short target and then we retraced right back to it, and it became resistance, and that took us down to the zone below. And then the step line crossed, and this retracement didn't make it all the way back to the BBC. That's an indication the markets are very heavy. There's another retracement, pullback held. Now we're consolidating at the weekly zone right here. 5920/25. Now we still have several zones below. We've got the rest of the day and tomorrow. Gold. This was the open last night. The vertical line separates today, Thursday, from Wednesday. So this was 6 p.m. Eastern last night when the markets opened. Down we go. And we get to this area right here. Buyers come in, run us up to the zone, which we expect to be resistance. That's the highest weekly zone for the week. Resistance sent us looking for support, which we found at the target, 47.74. Then red turned to blue. We got back above the BBC. We had a retracement, which bounced us into red and falling, resistance, which sent us back to support. And now gold is 49.1680. And this is the highest weekly trading zone. I already talked about this. Based on the last 16 years of history, we would, under normal market conditions, we would expect price to be at or below the highest weekly zone by close of business on Friday. And it very well may be, or this may be one of those handfuls of week over the last 16 plus years where we actually closed above the highest zone or below the lowest zone. Last but not least, silver. Here's where we opened last night. And in the first 30-minute candle, we dropped all the way to the short target. You only need 2 pennies in silver to get your goal for the day. We consolidated. Support sends us to resistance. Back to support. We overcame the BBC and the zone. The step line crossed here. There's the retracement to the BBC. And then right here, 9:30, we made a run up to the long target. Little retracement. Made it through the target again. Took out yesterday's high. And we got a high on the session of 96.73 half. But notice that the step line is starting to hook to the right. What does that tell us? That price will most likely retrace back to the BBC once that step line crosses blue and climbing. So we've covered all the markets in granular fashion. Again, if you missed anything at all, as soon as I sign off, go to youtube.com/CFRN. You can watch today's broadcast in its entirety. We archive each and every daily broadcast. Currently, there's over 2,900 daily episodes archived for your educational and viewing pleasure. And as we mentioned at the beginning, the area where we anticipated potential resistance was at the 50% fib extension, which is 69.73. So far, we've only made it up to 69.69, so maybe we get a little bit higher. And then right there is your next potential resistance at 69.91/92. To become a member, email Valerie, support@cfrn.net. Let her know you want to become a member. She'll email you all the information you need to get signed up. Once you become a passport holder, you'll get 2 hours of live training every trading day. On top of the live training, you have access to private one-on-one mentoring. All you got to do is ask, no extra charge. The strategy you learn, the indicators you use as a passport holder are fluid across all markets and all time frames. Stocks, futures, crypto, Forex, ETFs, doesn't matter. Price flows the same across all markets and all time frames. From support to resistance, back to support, back to resistance, over and over again and again. It's a never-ending cycle. It's just how markets work. As a passport holder, you get the Logic 247 alerts. Those will teach you how to read the chart so you know where to anticipate resistance, where to anticipate support. You get the concierge trade alerts typically 5 minutes ahead of the Globex Open each evening. Every Monday morning, when Monday's not a holiday, you get the weekly trading zones at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. And once they're published, they're carved in stone for the entire week. They don't change in any way whatsoever. As a passport holder, you're able to attend the members-only workshop every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. So if you've been on the trial and you want to be in the members-only workshop tonight, email Valerie, support@cfrn.net, and let her know you're ready to become a member. Last but not least, you get the golden keys that open all the private channels in Telegram. Everything a trader needs, all under one roof. One low price. All right, let's wrap it up with our good word for the day. Where there is a will, there is a way. Hebrews 10:35. Do not cast away your confidence, which has great reward, so that after you have done the will of God, you may receive the promise. In the early 1950s, Erwin Rosenberg, a junior naval officer, was discharged from military service after he was diagnosed with cancer, standard military procedure at the time. The loss of his job was quite a blow, but he was determined to get back both his health and his job. With faith and determination, he battled the disease that tried to take over his body. At one point, he was given only 2 weeks to live. But eventually, his cancer was brought under control. Erwin then focused his attention on his desire to become a naval officer. He discovered, however, that regulations forbade reinstatement of a person discharged with cancer. Everyone told Erwin, give it up. It would take an act of Congress to get you reinstated. Well, that gave him an idea. He would pursue an act of Congress. After months of knocking on doors and jumping through legal hoops, President Truman signed into law a special bill that allowed Erwin to re-enlist in the Navy. Then guess what happened? Erwin W. Rosenberg went on to become a Rear Admiral in the United States 7th Fleet. The saying goes, where there's a will, there's a way. And his middle name was Will. When you have a relentless faith and your will lines up with God's will, all things become possible. Do not cast away your confidence, which has great reward. For you have need of endurance, so that after you have done the will of God, you may receive the promise. Again, that's Hebrews 10:35 through 36. And that's our good word for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.